Ricardo,
Hello.
thank you so much for being here. It's a pleasure to have you in the show.
Good to talk to you. It feels strange to talk to you in English, but that's okay. We'll
Oh
make it
yeah,
work.
I should have told you. Well, I think I mentioned that we have a very international audience, so we're going to do. This is
Of
the
course.
first time that we're going to talk in English, so we're going to that. Uh, Thank you again for being here. You are one of the industry's favorites for sure. With everyone that you talk about, Ricardo is only good things. You know how cool, kind, and generous you are, and of course how much you know about marketing and sponsorship. So for me, it is a big pleasure to have you here. You're someone who I follow since the first time that we met back in 2006.
Mhm.
Do you remember that?
Of course I do. Of course I do. We're gonna do a quiz. Who remembers more when we met? What were we doing?
Yes. No, in fact, I was digging. I have actually a picture here. See if you remember this.
Oh yeah, that was a good one.
Can you see? It's a dinner with
Yeah.
Scolari there in Portugal. There's someone else from FIFA and a colleague from Coke in Portugal. And yeah, that was the preparation. That was the Coca-Cola. Oh, sorry, the Coca-Cola Trophy Tour.
Yes, that was the first edition of the trophy to the Coca-Cola, the trophy tour, the FIFA Coca-Cola Trophy Tour that we executed back in 2006. Since then, the program grew, and we've done 4 editions of the tour. The tour grew stronger and broader, and it has visited most of the federations that are part of FIFA. And that was the first edition, and I have very fond memories of that evening and that event in Portugal.
Yeah, I was starting my career in sport. I had just
Mhm.
finished my master's in
Mhm.
2005, and was one of the first chances that I got was actually with FIFA then, and
Mhm.
and then we met was a pleasure. And since then, I've been following your work, so I'm very
Mhm.
happy to have you here.
Mhm.
This is a channel primarily about career, right? Career
Mhm.
in sports. So we're going to talk about sponsorship and marketing as well. But let's start. If you could give us a summary then about your career, how you started working in sports, and how you got to where you are today.
Okay, well, there is no traditional path to sport, and in my case, it's not very different from most people that I know. I'm a civil engineer. I'm Brazilian, as you mentioned, civil engineer, and thanks to Unilever, my first formal job, I managed to transition from engineering to marketing, and I fell in love with trying to understand what people think, and I fell in love in crafting communication and marketing. Over the years, I worked for Unilever, I worked for Kellogg, and I always dreamed of working for the Coca-Cola company. Growing up in Brazil, it's it's the same in most countries, but Brazil in particular, Coca-Cola is a very strong. It has very strong presence, a very strong connection with sports and entertainment, and has always been a brand that was part of my life growing up. So I did wanted to work for Coca-Cola since I was 13, and I watched an advertising of Zico, the famous number 10 of Brazil, when he was about to go to Spain to play the 1982 FIFA World Cup. And honestly, I don't remember anything from that time in my life other than the FIFA World Cup. And I remember the brands that were talking about it. I remember what I was doing, what I was wearing, all my friends, and Coke was a very strong presence in that at that moment in my life. The commercial, the advertising I remember was a remake of a famous American advertising called Mean Joe Green, where the player throws his shirt, he gets out of the field injured, and the kid offers him a Coke, and he gets the shirt of the player after exchanging with a Coke. And I was the same age of the kid. I wanted to be that kid. I wanted to be, to be that 13-year-old that got the Zico shirt. And I thought, well, one day I hope I can get closer to Coke and work for Coke. And it happened in 1998. I joined Coca-Cola in Rio de Janeiro. I worked for Coke in marketing, always in marketing, and never in sports up to that point. And for many different coincidences, I was involved in projects that led me to come to Atlanta in the headquarters of Coca-Cola to work in global entertainment marketing. And soon after, I think they thought, this guy is Brazilian, he must understand sports and football. So he offered me to transition to sports, and I managed global football for Coca-Cola for a few years leading up to the 2006 FIFA World Cup in Germany when we first met.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that was a possibility of someone living like that, working in sports, and it was so different from every other thing that I've seen, and I really wanted to do it, but for things that comes to mind when you are younger and you are developing, and I thought that sports at that time wasn't going to be a career that will allow me to grow and to develop and to become. Everybody when it's in their 20s and early 30s wants to be a CEO. So I thought, well, I would never be a CEO if I work in sports. So I gave up on my passion, and I went back to work in the business, and I managed marketing for Coca-Cola in Brazil, and I went to India to manage marketing for Coca-Cola there in India and a few countries around India. I had a great experience, but I always missed sports. In 2011, I left Coca-Cola. I went to Danone for a year, still working in marketing, and I wasn't feeling good because I really felt that I was missing what I was passionate about. Then and for another lucky strike in 2012, a Visa invited me to join the company in San Francisco and manage their sports and entertainment relationships and advertising for sports and all of that. And if you remember, 2012 was the year right before the FIFA Confederations Cup in Brazil, 2 years before the FIFA World Cup in Brazil, 4 years before the Olympic Games in Brazil, and that was honestly was a dream job for anyone, and twice as a dream job to any Brazilian. So I went to Visa to San Francisco, and I was part of this process that led the company to develop all the work for these 3 events. And it was probably the best experience that I've had working, being in my country, working with the things that I love. And it was a great experience. And then in 2016, I came back to Coca-Cola, came back to Atlanta, moved from San Francisco to Atlanta. And I've been managing the global sports and entertainment relationships of the company since then. And, couldn't be happier. I do think I have the best job in the company. I do think that I have one of the best jobs in the industry. I'm very lucky and very privileged to be doing what I'm doing for work. And there's so much to do in sports and entertainment, and Coke believes in that, supports that. So it's a great place to be and to have an impact in the business of the company and also in the industry, right? So.
Yeah, definitely. Well, one of the great things of your job probably is that you met many of your sporting heroes. Did you get your shirt from Zico yet?
No, in fact, I didn't. I've never got a shirt. I've never got a shirt from Zico, and fun fact, I've never met Zico. Coincidentally, I've met a lot of people, but one of the things that I tell everybody that wants to work in sports is you have to be really disciplined to separate what's your personal passion and what's your work. When I'm working, I'm signing contracts of people that I admire, and I cannot behave like a fan. I would never behave like a fan. So I would never ask autographs. We never take photos with celebrities and players, anything like that. And we always have to keep the behavior in check to make sure that you remember who you're representing and what you're doing and why you are in that position of having conversations with people that most of our friends would love to meet one day. So I have very, very few autographs. I have the only one that I asked in my life, not to say that I haven't asked any, was Pelé, and I met him. I worked with him for a few years, and I did it. At that time, I wasn't managing sports, so I felt that I could, but nothing else.
I see it. I asked because, well, the advantage of maybe not be signing multi-million-dollar contracts is that sometimes we can take some pictures and get some autographs, like this one here. That's actually signed by Zico. That's why I asked.
That's good. I'm jealous.
Don't be.